Morning, everybody, or good whatever time of day it is there for you. That would be my future. So, as you're watching this, I want to officially welcome you to my future. Um, and I'm hoping my future finds you in a present that's quite beautiful, and that hopefully through watching this video, that if anything, it won't mess with that beauty, but maybe even deepen it. That's my hope. So I'm sitting here this morning and it's got this I'm in California and it's got this kind of like low fog, right? That's just kind of barely touching the tops of the trees. It's 8:22 a.m. I've been I've been writing text, dealing with drama most of the morning, and and I decided to put that down and found myself feeling quite peaceful in the midst of all of the drama. Funny how that could be. I'm reading another book. I'm reading right now. It's a really strange book. Is What's it called? It's by David Bentley Hart, and it's called "Praise for Roland in Moonlight." And it's essentially this book he wrote about essentially his conversations with his dog. And it's really strange book. It's a really strange book, and what's even stranger is that as you're reading it, it's not strange at all. Like you're like he's having these elaborate conversations with his dog, right? And it kind of just goes in the background, and you're like, listen. I've listened to it when I go do my runs on a during the day. I have one of those reader apps, and it's just I don't know. It's just a strange. It's strange that way. That it's strange how it stops being strange. But there's some things about it that are I don't know. It seems to be having this effect on me that where I'm not that present. I mean, they're talking about profound things, like no doubt, but I'm not totally present at the time when I'm reading it and listening to it, of it being like earth shattering or something like that. However, I find myself throughout the day thinking about it, right? There's a funny thing about, I don't know if it has to do with subjects or authors, but I notice that sometimes where there'll be books that I'm reading it and it just blows my mind. But I don't necessarily it's not like I walk around thinking about it. I would think that I would do that because it so strikes me as so profound. But then there's other ones that kind of, they're like, oh yeah, it makes you think, right? But then you stop listening to it and that makes you think, keeps thinking, right? I'm wondering about what is that thing that catches, right? So, anyways, I'm having that with that book. You may want to check it out and and let us know. But on to our book. Okay. Okay, so we're diving in now to the the particulars of what Almaas is calling the personal essence. And the way that I'm kind of grokking is that the personal essence, right, is this place where something like the impersonal, the transpersonal, and the personal come together, right, in some essential way. Um, and we in the beginning of the book we see he starts us off with this dialectic or addressing this schism that happens right between kind of the ego and ultimate reality, and this kind of back and forth dialectic between psychology and mystical traditions, and recognizing that there's places that they absolutely agree, but how they look at it is very, very different. And so this is that dialectic is opening up to this deeper conversation, which is addressing that schism, right? So now we're in the part of the book where he's going to start going into basically case studies, right? Where he's working with students, addressing the issues that come up in becoming a person, an individual, right? In the context of an understanding of being as a whole, right? So, chapter 3, autonomy. So autonomy is one of the main issues that comes up, obviously, with being a person and being a self. And so he goes on. Sandy is a married woman in her 30s who has been working with the author in a group situation. Her explicit reason for being in the group is to understand herself, to grow, and to learn to be more herself. Seems reasonable and noble. She was sick for some time and has been back in the group for only a couple of months. She begins speaking, obviously with some guilt about what she is feeling. She relates hesitantly that she almost did not come to the group meeting this particular evening and has been feeling increasingly unwilling to come to the sessions. Oh, Sandy's being a bad girl. When I inquire whether she knows the reasons behind her feelings, she says that because she was sick for a long time and did not have fun, now she feels she would rather go out and have fun rather than sitting in group sessions and scrutinizing herself. Well, that seems reasonable. Why would you, after being sick, right? Like, anyways, I'll keep reading. When I when I ask what she means by having fun, she grins and says it is doing what she wants to do, and relates that she resents coming to the group because she must abide by a certain schedule and accommodate herself to a structure imposed on her from the outside. So in the group sessions, she has been feeling frustrated, hemmed in, and resentful. I indicate that I agree that it is good for her to have fun and enjoy herself, and I understand how her illness has curtailed her life. I then inquire about why she feels imposed upon and restricted by coming to the group, when it is her choice to be in the group and benefit from the work done in it. She responds by affirming that it is her choice, that she understands the benefits of participating in the group, and that she does not understand why she feels so frustrated. So, I mean, who can't relate with that? Or at least my projection is, because I can relate with this so much. But yeah, like you can say to somebody, well, in reality, right, you're the one that's choosing that, and you know that, and then you still feel dominated and boxed in by your own choice, right? But then it occurs like the group's doing it to you, right? So Almaas goes on. As we inquire further into her emotional states, she sees that she feels she is losing something by adhering to a certain structure and schedule. She feels she loses her freedom, and this makes her feel frustrated. She relates then that this pattern is not new for her, that she has had similar conflict in almost every job she has had, and actually lost some jobs because of it. Even jobs she liked, she could not completely enjoy because of this conflict. So she leaves what she is doing, even though it is useful to her, in order to avoid feeling this overwhelming sense of frustration and heaviness. We see here that Sandy is recognizing the present situation as part of a pattern that she has repeated many times in her life, which has brought her much discontent and frustration. Right? This, I just want to pause there. So this is like, I don't know a person who doesn't have, if it's not this issue about the apparent loss of autonomy and the conflicts that arise, but we all have these problems that we kind of carry with us everywhere we go. And it's like, there's a sense in which it's like, you talk to, for example, you talk to people who who go from job to job and they always end up with the same boss somehow. Like they always end up with the same boss, with the same issues, with the same conflicts. And I think about that, it's like, it's kind of like, and I think has to do with this sense of the psychological sense that they talk about in objects relations, which Almaas is really grounded in, right? Where the you kind of see things in terms of there's the subjective pole always connected with an objective pole, the other, and that when you have unresolved conflicts like around autonomy, right? You have, they call it your objects relations, where what you do, you think about it like you like is as if we walk around with empty folding chairs, right? And wherever we stop, right, we sit down and we put out these folding chairs and we just put different people in their different roles that we need to shore up our sense of self, right? So like maybe, you always, maybe you have like an ongoing conflict with your mother that never got resolved or completed. Therefore, you always find somebody to be in that role, right? To have that struggle to maintain this emotional binding, right, to this self object, right? In this case, it would be the mother object, right? And so you put your boss in there, right? Or you put your best friend in there, right? And here's the thing is that we have these various like objects relations. And from our position, it looks like I don't want those. I don't want that conversation with my boss. I don't want this conflict with this person and the other person. I don't want to feel this way. In fact, I'm trying the best I can to resolve this, but it must be them. And I think the insight, right, the psychological insight, right, is realizing that my sense of self, right, is actually tied to these objects relations, these people in their that are sitting in my folding chair. In other words, if I remove that folding chair, I can feel a sense of self dissolve and reveal all kinds of inadequacy and terror. And so I have to put this person that I apparently can't ever solve that problem, put them there to try to solve it. And that affective conflict, right? It's not like I like it, but it's a conflict in which myself is formed around. Therefore, to maintain that self, I have to have that conflict. So this is, there's a lot here in just this example, right? As she becomes aware that a reaction to the group structures are repeating this pattern, she becomes more motivated to explore her state. As she continues, she tells me that she knows that this pattern has to do with her relationship to her mother, and that she always felt restricted by her. So there's the object's relations, right? The mother object, in which she always felt restricted. He goes on, not allowed her to live her life as she wants. But she is frustrated, she says, because she has seen this pattern many times and has has understood its genesis for a long time, but there has been no change. I point out to her that it seems she does not know how to have the freedom she wants except by saying no to a situation she feels is restricting. It becomes clear to her that she believes that freedom is gained only by doing what she chooses to do, and many times this means not doing what others want her to do. I point out to her that freedom acquired in this way is nothing but a reaction to the situation, and that a reaction is not a free choice since it is determined by the other and is not a spontaneous response. It is simply a compulsive automatic reaction. Here, she admits she does not usually enjoy the freedom she believes she is gaining, but continues feeling frustrated and, in addition, leaves activities and situations that are actually useful to her. She acknowledges also that even when she believes she is gaining autonomy by removing herself from some situation, she still feels the lack of the true freedom she wants. At this point, I ask her what it is exactly that she wants to experience by having her freedom. She says she just wants to be herself, to be free to be herself. She believes that if she does what she chooses, she will be herself as herself, the way she really is, and not the way others want her to be. I ask her to tell me more specifically what it means to be herself. In her past work, she has often felt that, quote, I don't know what I want, unquote. And now she realizes that she has never looked at the situation from the perspective of what it really means to her to be herself. She was wanting something, which she somewhat vaguely associated with autonomy. Now she finds it hard to describe more specifically what she means. And the very asking of the question puts her into deeper contact with herself. Here, I ask what she is feeling. Now, she says she is much less frustrated and that she feels okay. I ask her, what kind of okay? What does she really feel in her body? That's a great question. What kind of okay, right? So it's kind of like that question, as an inquiry, right? Asks you, it just essentially, this is a deepening question, right? And has you look more into your experience. She says she feels calm and peaceful, and the issue of autonomy no longer feels significant. I express surprise that she feels so peaceful and not concerned about what was such a bothersome issue. I ask her to tell me more about the calm feeling. She says she feels the calmness, especially in her belly, and that the calmness also feels strong. The strength somewhat surprises her because when she was sick, she was feeling mostly weak. I keep asking her to pay attention to the calmness, to describe it more specifically. She feels the strength and calmness growing in her, filling her chest. I ask her what she means by the feeling filling her chest. Here, she realizes she is not only feeling an emotional state, but that the calmness and strength are effects of a sense of fullness in her body, which was in her belly, but now increasingly pervades her body. The more she senses this fullness, the more it expands. The effect is that she feels a fullness of presence that is calm, peaceful, and collected. This makes her happy and contented. I ask her to recall her desire for autonomy and freedom. Here she realizes how she feels she is being herself. The presence of the calm fullness makes her feel present as herself. The more the fullness, strength, and calmness expand, the more she feels present as herself. She experiences herself as a being, a presence, a fullness. She is not an action or a reaction. She is not feeling, she is not a feeling or a thought or an image, but a firm, strong, full, and exquisitely alive presence. So, what I'm hearing here, and this has definitely been in my experience too, like when you start to inquire into these, you could say these objects relations or these conflicts, and you kind of get rationally like, okay, I'm projecting here clearly, but I don't know how to stop doing that, right? And then you kind of go, you just kind of let that be there, and then you just inquire into what that feels like. And oftentimes, in you start to get these deeper insights, right? And as you allow those deeper insights, there's a phenomenological experience that comes up. And what he's emphasizing here is this shift, right? I'll read this again. She experiences herself as a being, a presence, a fullness. She is not any longer identifying, at least in this moment, she is not an action or a reaction. She is not a feeling or a thought or an image, but a firm, strong, full, and exquisitely alive presence. So I think what almost would call this is like this our reactions are really bound up with a lot of images and mental context, right? And then there's this whole experience underneath that this kind of these mental loops that we kind of go into, right, are driven by but aren't fully felt. So as you kind of understand the mental loops and you start to feel into the thing that's going on underneath and you allow that to be there, sometimes what happens is that as you just keep allowing that to be there, something more essential rises up, right? And in this case, some things connected to like essential fullness and autonomy, right? Qualities of being versus images and understanding and stuff like that. Oh, wow. We're 42 minutes into this. So I will stop here. Thank you so much. See you next time.